Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 15 of It's Not You, It's Me podcast. I am DS Choi, your host, and today I wanted to kind of explore more about the course that I'm making and how it's not a course right now. As I was thinking about making a course, I realized, oh my gosh, there's so much things to do before I can launch it. So instead of a course, I'm taking a smaller step, breaking it down into creating workshops. And through these workshops, I will be able to test things quickly. And by testing them quickly, I can get feedback and improve them, make it better. And eventually, these modules for the workshop will perhaps be used in the course. But the biggest things about the workshop and why I wanted to do a workshop instead was because I feel that information is not what we need. I think there's plenty of information out there in the social media world and a lot of great information. Some could be better. And so with the workshop, the goal is to be so much more practical. So how do we be practical? We have to actually take some concepts, use examples, case studies, whatever it may be, whether it's my own examples, examples from other places, using real examples to help people actually communicate and talk and build relationships, build connection, whatever it may be, whatever you're looking for. So where do we start? Right now, the immediate workshop that I am working on is communication. And I thought it was going to be communication, and it's evolving. It's evolving because as I'm realizing I'm trying to do a 1 hour workshop. And so it's the time is limited and I don't want it to be long. I just want it to be short, quick, fail quickly. Try, fail quickly, and iterate and make it better. Right. So what do we do? The problem is I felt like even just the short workshop was not in a place where it would be actually helpful. I felt like, again, it felt like more information dumping. And so I was just like, all right. So what can we actually try to practice? What can we actually practice in this hour? What concept can we try? And right now, the answer that I've come up with is I feel statements. It's very interesting because people who struggle with I feel statements are because most of them are not actually in tune with their emotions, what they're actually feeling. So here's an example that I have. This is, I read so many Reddit posts, and this is just one example about particularly no one. Let's say that someone feels pressured to get married, right? They just have this overarching pressure, whatever the circumstance is, and they need to communicate that with their partner. So what do they say? And typically the pressure comes from either your parents or your spouse or your partner, been together for a long time. And maybe you've talked about it, but everything, you're just not ready, whatever it may be. And when you're kind of getting defensive, if someone is, let's say their partner is hinting at talking about marriage and proposal and stuff like that and engagement, and you're getting pressured, you might say, I feel pressured when you ask me to talk about marriage. That's an okay start. However, there is a blame aspect to it, right? So whenever, even though you started the sentence with I feel pressured, the latter part is when you ask me to talk about marriage. And so when the direction changes, I feel pressured, me focused or self-focused. And then when you blame focused, when you do this, I feel pressured. That's a blame focused communication. And that is not how to do I feel statements properly or effectively. Because again, there's the blame. So how do we turn this around, right? Again, if we're focused, I feel statements, the goal of I feel statements is to focus on the self. So if we're focusing on the self, we can transform this, right? I feel pressured when I think about marriage in my current circumstance, right? I'm not blaming anyone. It's focused on me and what I am processing, what I am going through, what is my experience, right? And so that is a simple example of an I feel statement, an I statement. There's different ways people will call it, but I feel is probably the most accurate way to describe it. That's the practice that you want to implement, right? People think it starts with I feel. It's a simple example, right? Like I feel sad when you go hang out with your friends on a Friday night instead of me. Right. So again, what's basically happening when you're describing that is you're describing your feelings. That's a great starting point. Now, the second part is that when you hang out with your friends, again, others focused. And what I understand is people are trying to describe the circumstance that's making them feel that way. They're honestly not trying to blame the other person. They're honestly just trying to describe the situation. However, the language, when the other person becomes the subject of the is it prepositional phrase? I forget what the grammar is, but it's when you hang out with your friends on a Friday night instead of me. That communicates blame. It's a cause and effect. And the way we look at it is the cause is you're hanging out with your friends instead of me. Therefore, I am sad. There's a cause and effect. Therefore, there's a blame language there. However, oftentimes when people are expressing this, giving them the absolute benefit of the doubt, they're trying to just express their feelings and they're not doing it well. So giving them the benefit of the doubt, they're just trying to describe a circumstance that arose when their feelings came up, right? That's how they're connecting the feelings. And that is a correct connection. Now, the problem is cause and effect, where that's the blame language. What we want to change from cause and effect is source. And maybe I have to figure out and tinker with this language too, but the source of the sadness is from this situation. The situation is the partner is hanging out on a Friday night instead of hanging out with their partner, like hanging out with their friends, right? Like, so I'm not explaining that clearly, but you get the point. That is indeed the source, the root cause. Maybe I don't want to use cause, right? Maybe that is the root of where the sadness or loneliness, whatever, is arising from. Yes, that is the circumstance. How do we convert that again? How do we convert that to not blame the person? Do not use you in the prepositional phrase. When you try to convert that to when I, right? And so I feel sad when I am left alone. I am waiting for you. I am wanting to spend time with you and you're not there. And so that is, again, the focus again is an I-focused statement. And why is this important is because what we're trying to communicate and what is communicated is not always so clean. The context is important. And in this context, I'm just trying to express my feelings that when the source is not described in terms of it arises from my situation. Like I am lonely because I am by myself. You're out there having fun. That's the circumstance, right? But rather than saying you, just focus on me. I am alone. I am wanting to connect. I am alone this Friday night and I wanted to spend time with you. And that makes it so much more understandable why you're feeling that way. It sounds so simple. And I think this is where there's a disconnect in terms of what I understand from learning science. When I used to teach as a professor for engineering, there's so much interesting things in learning science about how people basically don't learn properly. People don't know how to learn. And so that's kind of what I studied for my PhD and other things for engineering education. And so we need to practice. We need to actually, more than just intake information, we need to produce. We need to actually practice doing the exercise. And so a lot of students, for example, will struggle with learning because they saw the example in class and they think by seeing the example, they can just recreate it when they do it. It is a different cognitive process because when you see it in class, that's more of recall. I saw it in class. I recognize the process. I'm recalling the familiarity of how to do the problem. But when I have to do the problem myself, it's no longer recall. It's now application. Because typically the problem is different from the example. It may be similar, there's similar aspects, but I have to take the new situation and apply it with the recalled example. And that connection, building that connection takes time and effort. You actually have to do it. So in this workshop, ideally, they've probably been in a relationship before, but it doesn't even have to be with a romantic partner. It could be with friends. It could be with parents. It could be with siblings. It could be with really anyone that you've kind of had an argument with in terms of when something that you were trying to express kind of did not go the way you wanted it to. I mean, I have personal examples about that. Even with my current girlfriend, we have miscommunication because what we're trying to communicate on both sides, we're learning each other, the way the other person expresses themselves so that we don't have to take it personally when they're really just trying to express themselves versus we might interpret it as blame. And what happens? What's the consequence if you hear it as blame? When you hear it as blame, then obviously the listener becomes defensive. There was another Reddit post that was really good. Basically, it was about a couple, long distance, and one partner is busy with work, lifestyle, going to the gym, whatever it may be. They kind of have a scheduled lifestyle because they're busy, and their partner wanted to talk more. Their partner wanted to spend more time with them. And basically, on a morning call, the girl said, I want to talk with you, but you're always busy. I don't know if always is the right word, but you're busy because he had to go to the gym. And the guy says, let's skip the gym so that we can talk for about 90 minutes before my next thing. And she was just like, I feel that you're too busy for me. And the guy gets defensive because what did he hear? I feel that you're too busy for me, right? Like other things take priority. And so the guy gets defensive. He's just like, I am willing to skip gym to talk with you. I don't understand. You're asking to talk and you're telling me that like right now, like, oh, I'm confused. And there were other examples that he put in the Reddit post where I should maybe find it. I'm just thinking on top of my head. But basically, he had a work presentation that he was working on, but the day before, he took 2 hours of his time to talk with his long distance partner. And so he felt like he was giving up, he was sacrificing, making space and time for his partner to have time for connection, time for talking. And he felt like he was doing his part to give more than perhaps he might have felt comfortable doing. So I assume there was no negative consequences. I assume he got his work done and it was fine. And so when the partner was expressing that morning, when he was going to skip the gym to talk with her, she's just like, I feel that you're too busy for me. And so what is he hearing? He's hearing that you're too busy for me. That's a complaint. That's a blame. And he gets defensive. He's just like, I've been making time for you. I'm even making you time for you now. I'm skipping the gym. I don't understand what you're upset about. We have the time to talk right now. This is a classic case of where expression doesn't match the what's communicated. So what is an example? I can't speak for the girl side because that's not what the Reddit post was written in the guy's perspective. And so, but imagine what the girl might have been going through. The girl basically might have felt like, I don't know if afterthought is the right way to describe it, but he has a schedule and that she has to squeeze into his schedule, into that schedule, like around his life versus him revolving around her life. And I'm not saying that's what they need to do, but it's this idea of I feel I'm not important. And that's how she's feeling, right? And that's what she can describe. She can say, I feel neglected because I always have to squeeze into your lifestyle, your busy schedule. I have to squeeze into there. The schedule seems to be full and I have to squeeze. And so I feel that I am a lesser priority. I feel neglected. Trying to be neutral and just trying to describe the situation. I will be interrupting your gym time. And so I feel secondary to gym time. That's how I feel. And so again, in that language, you're trying to avoid using a subject of the other person, right? Like you did this, you did that, you are doing this, or because of you. No. So in this example, you can talk about the schedule. And it takes practice. And I'm trying to like say it properly too. It's not the most natural thing. Describe your feelings from a self perspective. I feel this. When I notice this, I've experienced this, I experienced that, whatever it may be. An important, very, very important concept that I am also going to include in the workshop is you are not your feelings. And that's a concept that's hard to understand. And I use hangriness as an example very often because it's the easiest way to describe it. At least in my opinion right now. Maybe I'll come up with something else in the future. But the idea is just because you're feeling hunger doesn't mean you have to be hangry, right? Your hunger doesn't control who you decide to be. You can choose to be hangry. That's definitely an option, but you can also choose to be patient. Another example, just being tired. Let's say you can be exhausted, but you can still be present for somebody after a long day of work, whatever it may be. Your physical feelings do not dictate who you are. It definitely has the ability to influence it. Like, because you can choose to be cranky if you're tired and irritable. You can choose to be hangry when you're hungry. Yes, absolutely. The feeling doesn't define who you are. You define who you are. You choose who to be. What am I trying to make the connection to the previous example with the long distance partner and how they felt neglected about not talking and feeling? Well, this is me putting words in their mouth. Yes, they can feel that way. If the partner wasn't defensive and could actually hear how the girl wanted to connect and felt neglected, he could just be like, "Oh, I hear you, right? I'm hearing that I always have things to do, and you might feel that you're interrupting me, and therefore you feel like you're not that important. That's what I'm hearing, right? You might feel that you're not important because I'm always putting these things in my schedules. You might feel that those are more important than spending time with you." Conditional wording is also very helpful. If the guy wasn't defensive, he heard more of the feelings and understand the circumstances, then he can, yeah, provide a validation. I mean, this is what I'm hearing you say. Reflective listening. This is what I'm hearing you say, that you might be feeling these things because of these circumstances. I hear you. What would you like to do? In this example specifically, an example could be, let's schedule you in. Schedule our time in together in this schedule, right? So that you will have my undivided attention during that time because that time is for you specifically. You don't have to squeeze in. I don't have to skip gym. You don't have to call me in the morning, right? Like we don't have to replace something already in my schedule. I'll put you in. That is your time, right? That might be part of a solution. That might be part of, I'm hearing you want to spend time with me where I'm not busy. I hear you. Let's make that happen. I'll put you in the schedule. What do you think about that? Then it could be a co-constructed solution, right? That's he offering a solution, and she can respond or adjust whatever she would like. Now, how do you get to the point where you're not defensive? This is part of a listening skill that's not the easiest, but also being in tune with your emotions, emotion of confusion helps. So, in this example again, where the girl is saying, "I feel that you're too busy for me," right? That's how she's expressing it. From the guy's perspective, he's thinking of all the ways where that's not true. I'm sacrificing time for you now. There's clearly evidence that I am here and present and wanting to spend time with you and talk with you right now. I'm creating that time for you. So there is a mismatch, right? There is an inconsistency of reality in what is being described. That is a perfect time to recognize it's not about you. It's about her, right? And so for the guy, it's not about the guy, it's about her. When she's expressing it, it's like this podcast name, it's not you, it's me. She is going through something and she's not expressing it well. The guy does not have to take it personally. And again, how do you recognize that? That there's a disconnect. It feels a little odd to say this, and I'm trying to be very careful on how to word this. I don't even know if I'm going to say it right. So I'm just going to say it and then we'll kind of adjust. It's going to get clipped out of context. When something doesn't line up with reality, you do not have to take it as true. You don't have to get gaslit. And I don't want to use that term lightly either, because it's not for diagnosis or anything, but you don't have to feel like you did something wrong. You don't have to feel like the partner is blaming you. There's a confusion. It's just like clearly the reality is that's not true. So you actually don't have to prove that. You already know what's happening. You already have the evidence to counter that phrase of "you're too busy for me." So if you already know that's true, recognize that. Recognize there's a disconnect being what's communicated and what's actually happening in reality. That means something else is wrong. Beneath the surface of what the partner is expressing, there is something else going on, and what they said is not true. And again, so like I'm not saying disregard what is being said. It is a signal to recognize there's something beneath the surface. Let's dig a little bit. Let's dig a little bit. So it allows you to take a step back where you can take a breath. It's not about me. What she's saying might sound like blame. That's what it sounds like. But what they're blaming me for is not true. And our pattern of life is when someone accuses us of something that's not true, what is our natural response? To defend ourselves. However, with your partner, if you have the awareness and wherewithal to recognize, oh, they're trying to express something, they're hurt. If you have that emotional intelligence for yourself, it's a great practice to de escalate for yourself too from that automatic defensive response. And it might not be that easy. You might still feel defensive. You're like, I understand what's going on. And I feel a giant urge to defend myself. Then again, if you have that self awareness, perhaps you can say, I feel defensive What I'm feeling is that I'm being blamed for something that didn't happen. And you can express that too. I'm feeling blamed unfairly. I have been sacrificing my time even now, right now. I can go to the gym and I'm saying I can spend time with you. So I'm confused. So you can express this again. I statements focus on me. I feel confused about this conversation. I need like 5 minutes to breathe because I want to hear you. I want to hear you out, what you're experiencing, what you're feeling. Let me calm down my defense mechanism because I'm feeling blamed right now. I'm feeling attacked. It doesn't feel good. And I want to defend myself. And I recognize that defending myself is not going to help. So give me like 5 minutes. Let me take a breath, walk around, whatever it may be, wash my face, get a cup of water, take a bite to eat, whatever you need. Take that moment. Now, what I just described is not easy. And this is the coolest part about how our brain works when we're learning to. And so this is the concept of why the workshop is so important. We have to practice rewiring our brain. And I don't even know if I can't even say the English word. Rewiring is the right analogy to describe what's happening, the right metaphor. We have an automatic defensive response. But now that we're aware of such a response, we're choosing to respond differently. And so that's what we would call the rewiring process. But instead of a rewiring, we're going to create an extraordinary result. Because the ordinary result is the automatic defense system. So the extraordinary result is not engaging, stopping, taking a pause from the automatic defense mechanism and saying, I want to respond, I want to show up differently, an extraordinary way. And what is that? It's trying to give that response. Doing this different response from what is ordinary allows your brain to be like, oh, I can do something different. I don't have to be on autopilot for defending myself anymore. And that creates an opportunity for new patterns to emerge in your life. You don't have to be defensive all the time. You can be like, oh, I've been able to notice my defensive reaction before. I'm realizing I'm noticing it now too. And therefore, I can take a step back and choose the extraordinary path to make it become more ordinary. You can choose that. You can choose a different path and different option. And so this is what this workshop is about. It's trying to, I don't know how much I can incorporate of that concept in that lecture, but I thought one simple exercise would be the I feel statements, focusing on the self. I don't think it's that complicated. And again, if you're listening to this podcast, you're hearing what it's all about right now, right? Like you might not need a workshop to do it, but it's the same thing with coaching. Most likely, if there's goals and dreams that you have, you might not need a coach. You might be able to achieve it yourself. It's a matter of if you find yourself struggling consistently over a long period of time and you're finally kind of sick of it, then coaching might be a perfect option. For fitness stuff too, right? That's an idea. It's this guy, I've been wanting to lose weight for such a long time. I wanted to get fit for such a long time. And I'm finding myself struggling to do so. Something I'll probably get to eventually in my life at some point because it's important to me. But if I'm struggling, let me just jump on this opportunity in front of me, provide some sort of accountability if I show up. If I pay money for it, I feel like I invested in it. I want to do it now. I don't want to keep pushing it off. And so with relationships, I feel that these skills can be used in any kind of relationship, right? Not even romantic ones, but romantic ones obviously is where a lot of conflict shows up. Family, friends, hopefully not as much. But I'm sure when you're getting close to people, different conversations will come up, different kind of interactions, different kind of dynamics will happen. And so when I create this workshop, it is really for people who are like, all right, let's finally, there's something in front of me here. I'm kind of interested in a topic. Let's see what it's about. It's not that they can't learn it, they can't practice it. It's helpful when someone just walks you through it. Why go through the extra difficulty on your own? Unless you're kind of masochistic and you kind of like it. And to be fair, people who figure out things on their own learn so much from it. And sometimes you might be like, it's like an example of I used to do my own oil change for my car, and I'm at a point where I could still do it for myself. I'm just like, I don't want to. It's too dirty. It's too messy. And it's like, I'll pay for someone to take care of it for me. So in a similar way, these services like coaching is an aspect in which, all right, like let me just pay to get the hard work out of the way. Not that there isn't hard work in coaching, it's a matter of having that structure, having that partnership with a coach to do what you really want to do in this life, especially for me in the niche of relationships, building connection, helping people feel seen and heard. That's what I'm all about. That's what I want to do. This is what this workshop is about. And it's what the relationship course is about. How to help people feel connected. How do you actually practice these things? And ideally, I would say the same thing with counseling or therapy, couples counseling, couples therapy. Like, there's nothing better than someone helping you through a conflict in the moment. There's no one better and nothing better than doing it in a safe space in the presence of a professional. And I think people underestimate that. They're just like, oh, when it arises, I'll deal with it myself. Oh, maybe I'll just ask my friends. Like, I'll get their opinions. It's just like, it's always typically in post. But what if you could do it in real time and you can have an argument? You can actually relive an argument, because if it's an argument that hasn't been resolved, you can replay that and it'll probably accumulate to an argument in the therapy, counseling, coaching session. And what if during that session, we could practice showing up in an extraordinary way? And so I think that's magical and extremely insightful, helpful, supportive for helping people learn. And I've often, luckily, part of my past experience in my life was being a mediator for a lot of relationship issues. My friends who are a couple would ask me to help them see and navigate through a conflict. And I would say, for example, this is a very simple example, right? It's just like, oh, like I feel like you're too busy for me. That comes up. He might be defensive, but he gives plenty of evidence of why that statement is not true. And just because a statement isn't true doesn't mean that your feeling is not valid. It's just a matter of we are attributing the feeling to the wrong event. Another specific example, my friend, she was struggling with how basically who she was dating. This is kind of when they were younger. Recent graduate from college, kind of struggling with living independently, like household chores, cleaning up after themselves and cooking. And those are like the biggest things. And so she was complaining like how she wanted her partner to do more things. And she was just like, oh, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. And she was asking me for support. I was like, would it be all right to talk with you together? And she said yes. And so I met him. This was me meeting him for the first time. And it was online. They're not a local friend. And so it was online. We were talking and obviously introduced myself and try to keep it as objective as possible, not taking my friend's side, because I'm not here to be biased. It's just trying to be honest, truthful, and supportive. So she was describing how he was neglecting to do this. And I was like, what is your side of the story? Right. And so based on the sides, it's like, yeah, I forget sometimes. And sometimes I do it, right? Whether it's cleaning or cooking. And I re-verified. I'm just like, I'm hearing that this is what he's saying. Is what he's saying true? And she's like, yes. And so I clarify, I'm hearing that you would like it to be more consistent. And so like these are ways we can try to make both parties heard, that they might be defensive, but often they're defensive for a good reason, right? Your defense systems are there because they serve a purpose. It's not there because they're trying to ruin your relationship or ruin your lives. So as a result, we're just trying to show up in a way where we don't have to continue falling in this pattern. We don't have to fall into this communication pattern of defensiveness, blame. We can work on it to communicate in an effective way, in a healthy way, where we can both understand. That was just one fight, one example. I didn't really talk with them about their fights afterwards, but that was a long time ago. They're married now. It worked out, right? I'm not saying that it was because of me it worked out. I mean, she was definitely like thinking of like, oh, I don't know if this is the right person for me, but he's like the nicest person I've dated, X, Y, and Z, like plenty of reasons. And I'm not saying I'm the reason why they're still together. It's just a matter of if in your conflicts you have consistent support of a professional, how much more easy would that be to navigate it without the bias of people who are on your side? I think one of the struggles I have with people is they're trying to find support from their friends, but their friends aren't objective. They're just loyal. I'm not saying loyalty is a bad thing. However, when you're trying to look for objective growth and learning opportunities, especially in relationships, loyalty kind of biases the learning opportunity. This is where counseling, therapy, coaching would really help. And again, if I use all these three, but just to be clear, if you're confused about what each purpose serves, therapy obviously is more in terms of like processing, I would say digesting past trauma, right? Trauma often sticks in your body. It triggers you in different situations. There's a lot of heavy energy that you have to carry around in your life. And therapy is something that'll help you see it, recognize it, process it in a way where you can digest it so that the energy can no longer be weighing on your shoulders. It can be released, right? Digested and processed. Now, counseling is more of receiving advice. Not that you can't get advice from therapy and coaching. It's just different. You can think of counseling a bit like consulting, but obviously counseling is a form of also getting support. Consulting seems like there's something that you want to do and you just need to know the information. Counseling is perhaps you're still looking for support, a safe space to talk and express yourself. And they might give you exercises and tips to things that you can try. They all have their place. Coaching is not a place where you get advice. I guess in the context of relationships, the easiest way to describe it is coaching is a place where you want to show up fully authentic as who you are, as I don't like using this phrase either, like the best version of yourself, because that's not necessarily what it is. It's a matter of how do I focus on being authentic to who I am, where I'm not showing up in ways that I don't know if I'm ashamed of is the right way to describe it, but let's say you're defensive all the time. It's like, I don't want to be defensive anymore, right? I want to connect. I want to communicate in a healthy manner, right? It's just like you want to show up in a way that's authentic to who you want to be. I don't even know if that's very informative of what coaching is. Coaching is really something that you have to experience. That being said, not all coaching experiences are the same, in the same way that not all therapy experiences are the same. It's kind of like you have to shop around. And so if you're ever looking for a coach, definitely recommend, like same thing with therapy. Ideally look for 3 people, have a conversation with 3 professionals, see who you match the most with. Try that out. Find out who you connect the most with. And in that way, hopefully, you will be able to have a better relationship with that professional in a way that really supports you versus someone who does not connect with you in the way that you need, basically the person who does not support you in the way that you need them to. And so that's that. I'm going to just yap a little bit in this post-Yapisode talking here. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. If you ever have any questions, you can connect with me. My information is in the comments, in the YouTube comments below. Not the comments, the description below. Basically, I've been trying to record on my phone and I was recording on a microphone at the same time. And so when I have to video edit, I have to kind of sync the 2 audios and the video separately. And part of the reason why is because my webcam, it's supposed to be a 1080p, like full resolution, HD resolution, and it was not doing that. Even right now, I feel like it's a little grainy, but it was, if you saw it before and after, it's completely different. It was also not working on Zoom. And so I was like trying to figure it out. I was trying to debug it and everything. And on top of that, I've been spending all day editing one of the previous episodes. And I was like, it like feels like it takes an hour to do like 10 minutes of editing. And so I'm just like, and the struggle with that is because I have a lot of pauses, I have a lot of ums, I have a lot of ands, I misspeak. Before, when I just uploaded episodes without editing it at all, it was so nice. And now that I'm editing it because I feel that it actually makes the listening experience better, I was like, and so I might invest in an AI editing software that will do some of the fun things that they do in podcasts where there's zooms, there's snaps. I don't know how to describe it, but there's these editing things, especially with the they cut out the ums and ands and they cut out silences. So I'm going to try to figure that out, try to use it. I said I was going to use it before and I just was trying to do it manually. And I'm just like, all right, I'm kind of getting sick of doing it manually. However, I will be traveling and I might be busy. We'll see how it goes. I might be traveling. I'm going to try to record the episodes. I will try to upload them while I'm traveling. I'll be gone for like 3-4 weekends. And so hopefully I'll have episodes ready to go because I also needed extra episodes when I get back. So I need to keep recording, keep practicing, keep putting these out, and also get my workshop out. And so if you're interested in a workshop, again, also you can reach out to me in the email. I can let you know about when the workshop is live. Whew. And with that, that's it for this episode. Thank you. If you've made it this far, thank you for joining me on this journey together on my coaching journey, this podcast journey, my life journey. Thank you for just listening and walking with me. Thank you. Until next time, bye-bye.